This is FAYZED music.
All right, everybody, what's going on? How y'all doing? And welcome to today's edition of Swag Talk, the show where we cover the swag inside and out. And I'm your tour guide around the swag, C Wells, coming at you. And we are gonna wrap up week 13. There is 1 week of regular season action left in swag football for the 2024 season. So this week was the last week with 5 games left. So um, the season is basically over for a few of these teams. So we're going to talk about all the action that took place in these games, and I'll give my thoughts on some of these games, and we'll wrap up week 13 and move on to week 14 this upcoming week. So we do have our week 14 pick'em contest. The link it will be in the description. There's also a pinned tweet on my Twitter account, which is SwagTalk76. Also on my Instagram and Facebook, which are both Swag Talk. And don't forget to like the video, comment, and share, and hit that subscribe button, man, to become a part of the Swag Talk family. And also hit the notification bell so you can be alerted to when any videos drop. And keep tabs with what's going on like that. So with that being said, man, we're gonna go ahead and jump directly into this recap. Gonna go ahead and talk about these games. And the first game we have on the schedule was a game that honestly was a closer game than I thought for a long time, and a more high-scoring game than I thought. And that was Alabama A&M defeated Mississippi Valley by a score of 49-35. This was a 28-28 halftime game. Both teams were very successful moving the football in the first half and scoring points. Valley actually scored 21 points in the second quarter to tie it to basically take this game to take a 28-21 lead before A&M scored right before the half to tie it up going into the locker room. Looking at the scoring, Donovan Wright caught a 29-yard pass from Quad Brown. That made the score 7-0 for the Bulldogs. Valley would get on the board when Jacoby Thomas would run a 12-yard touchdown with 6:10 left in the first quarter. That tied the score up at 7. Donovan Eaglin would get a 37-yard run, and extra point would be good. That came with 4:22 left in the first. And at that point, Bulldogs led 14-7. 13:10 left in the second quarter. Nathan Rembert caught a 38-yard pass from Tajarian Williams. That tied the score up at 14 after the extra point. Williams will get a 9-yard touchdown run with 6:19 left in the second quarter to put Valley up 21-14 after the extra point. Donovan Wright will get his second touchdown of the game from 14 yards out, this time from Quad Brown, with 4:44 left in the second. That tied the game up at 21. DeFabian Fant caught a 66-yard pass from Williams to go up 28-21 after the extra point. That came with 2:40 left in the half. And then with 1:03 left in the first half, Donovan Eaglin had a 23-yard run. Extra point was good, 28-28. And like I said, that would be our halftime score. Coming out of the break, Bulldogs get a short field, and they immediately scored 3 plays later on a 35-yard pass from Brown to Nelson that put them up 35-28 after the extra point. Donovan Payne would catch a 9-yard pass from Cornelius Brown with 8:25 left in the third. Extra point good. Bulldogs up 42-28. And then Keenan Hambrick would catch a 13-yard pass with 3:15 left in the third, also from Brown. And that made the score 49-28 after the extra point. And then Gregory Martin would catch a 29-yard pass from Ruben Lee to get the Delta Devils back on the board with 129 left in the game. That made the final. That made the score 49-35, which would be our final score. Very high scoring game. Bulldogs 27 extra. Bulldogs 27 first downs. Delta Devils 26. 212 on the ground for A&M. 32 carries, 6.6 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. 134 on the ground for Valley. 38 carries, 3.5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. 296 yards passing for the Bulldogs, 24-36, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception. 347 for Valley through the air, 21 of 45, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Turnovers obviously plagued Valley in this game. 508 yards of offense for the Bulldogs, 68 plays, 7.5 yards per play. They fumbled twice and lost one. They had 7 penalties for 59 yards. Valley 481 total offense, 83 plays, 5.8 yards per play. They fumbled once and didn't lose it. They had 8 penalties for 89 yards. A&M punted once for 41 yards. Valley punted 3 times for 42.3 yard average. Bulldogs were 6 of 11 on third down, 1 or 2 on fourth down, 3 or 3 in the red zone. No sacks. 9 of 18 for Valley on third down, 2 or 4 on fourth down, and 2 for 3 in the red zone. And they also has no sacks. So this game was honestly defense optional when you really look at it. I mean, yes, turnovers were a huge part of Valley's demise. Um, they really, they struggled with interceptions all season, and it continued in this game. And it was one of the reasons why they lost this game. But Quard Brown had a big game with the Bulldogs. He was 19 of 28 for 252 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, no sacks. Langford 5 of 8 for 44 yards, no touchdown, no interception, no sacks. Tajarian Williams 12 of 28 for Valley, 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, no sacks. Ruben Lee 9 of 16 for 72 yards and a touchdown, no interceptions, no sacks. Jaden Sisk was 0 for 1 with an interception. Eaglin, 14 carries, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. He continues his march toward 1,000 yards. I think he needs about 100 or so yards to get there. Caden Bex led Valley with 9 carries for 48 yards. Donovan Wright, 4 catches for the Bulldogs for 79 yards and 2 touchdowns. Devin Herring, 5 for 78. DJ Nelson, 5 for 74 and a touchdown. Rembert, 5 catches, 107 yards and 1 touchdown. He goes over the 1,000 yard mark this season. So two receivers over 1,000 yards this season. So that's a really good year for some guys that are good, very solid pass catchers. Wesley led the Bulldogs with 7 tackles. And Cortez Andrews, 2 tackles for loss. Like I said, no sacks. And Caleb Dawson had 2 interceptions for the Bulldogs. And Eberhard had 1. Valley was led by Donovan Parham with 10 tackles. Tackle for loss, Parham had 1.5 to lead the team. And interception went to Montgomery. So like Valley, this is, even though they lost this game, this was probably one of their best offensive efforts on the season. It's a shame that it came in a loss, but the turnover bug reared its ugly head again. Last week they really avoided turnovers, and this week they got them in bunches, and it really hurt them in this game. But A&M continues to kind of close out strong. Um, another high scoring game for them. The defense didn't really play great, but they were able to force some turnovers, and ultimately they're looking at a possibility of finishing this season with 7 wins if they could pick up a win next week, which is a very strong finish for them. When you look at this was a team who came into the season with their coach basically on the hot seat. So I think this was a strong end for them, and we'll see how they close out the season next Friday against Florida A&M. Valley season wraps up at 1-11. So they just rough season. Last week was a kind of a bright spot, but they couldn't really get over the hump any more games. I think this team still has a lot of growing to do, and the coaches are working hard, but the guys just can't really get it done. So we'll see what the future holds for Valley, especially on the recruiting trail. That takes us to our next game of the day, which is Texas Southern and Arkansas Pine Bluff. Tigers pick up a win, 31-23. This was actually, when you look at it, this was actually a nice close for TSU. They finished 4-4 in conference and 5-6 overall. Um, this was a team picked dead last in the division. So I think this is a strong finish for them. This is a disappointing finish for Pine Bluff, because when you look at where this team was about a month ago, they seemed like they were gonna be a team that would be a formidable opponent for a lot of teams, but injuries, lack of depth, and kind of teams kind of adapting to what they do, uh, and the fact that the defense hadn't really made a lot of big plays for them led them to a 2-6 finish and a 3-9 overall finish. So, and they also closed out on a 4-game losing streak. TSU closes the season out with 2 straight wins, so the future looks a lot better for them. But they still have, even though they were successful in this game offensively, I think the offense still is a thing where you look at some missed opportunities, but in a game that they needed, because you want to, like I said, you want to close out strong, and this was a team that you let come back on you last season. Um, they closed this game out with a 24-point second half and got the 31-23 victory. Quintrell Quinn, 32-yard run for the Tigers. Extra point was good. They led 7-0 at that point. There was 7:47 left in the first quarter. We will have basically a scoreless second half. Basically a scoreless first half. After that, until the 37-second mark in the first half, when Oshalake had a 75-yard pick six for the Golden Lions. Extra point was good to tie the game up at 7. And then with no time left in the first half, they would get a 52-yard field goal to go into the locker room up 10-7. Pine Bluff would come out the half, throw an interception. TSU would get the ball, and they would drive 22 yards and kick a 24-yard field goal to tie the game up at 10. Pine Bluff would answer with a short field, and they would kick a 35-yard field goal to go up 13-10. And then Quinn would get a 75-yard run for the Tigers with 6:59 left in the third. That was a one-play drive, and that put them up 17-13 after the extra point. Trenton Leary would get a 21-yard pass for a touchdown from Wilson with 3:29 left in the third. Extra point was good. That came off of another short field, 24-13. Pine Bluff would get a 21-yard field goal after a 14-play drive that took 71 plays and 6:07 off the clock. That came with 12:22 left in the game. They trailed 31. I mean, they trailed 24-16 at that point. And then Renfro will get a 1-yard run for TSU with 5:08 left in the game, put them up 31-16. And then with a minute and 55 seconds left in the game, Giovanni Gibson will get a 15-yard pass from DJ Stevenson. Extra point was good, 31-23 at that point. Take a quick look at what happened after that. TSU will get the ball at their own at the Pine Bluff 43 at the onside kick attempt, and we'll run the clock out from there and get the victory. So this was a good strong closeout for TSU. I think they had a really solid second half. Pine Bluff, a lot of the issues that they had all season kind of plagued them in this game. The TSU run game probably was the biggest difference in this game. Um, Tigers 18 first down, Golden Lions 17, 214 yards on the ground for TSU, 46 carries, 4.7 yards per carry with 3 touchdowns, 113 yards rushing for Pine Bluff, 37 carries, 3.1 yards per carry, no touchdowns, 169 yards passing for TSU, 15-19, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Uh, Pine Bluff, 162 yards passing, 13-26, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. 383 yards for the Tigers, 65 plays, 5.9 yards per play, no fumbles, 6 penalties for 54 yards, 275 yards for Pine Bluff, 63 plays, 4.4 yards per play, 1 fumble and they lost it, and they had 5 penalties for 20 yards. TSU punted 4 times for a 42.5-yard average, and Pine Bluff punted 3 times for a 41-yard average. Tigers 9 of 15 on third down, didn't attempt the fourth down. They were 2 or 3 in the red zone, and they had 4 sacks. Pine Bluff 9 of 16 on third downs. They didn't have a fourth down attempt. They were 3 or 4 in the red zone, and they had 2 sacks. So as you can see, TSU did a really good job on Pine Bluff defensively. Really kept the passing game under control, and they kept their run game under control. So when Pine Bluff passing game is not there, then they really are gonna struggle, and that really hurt them in this game. Wilson 15 of 19, 169 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 2 sacks. Hagan's 9 of 18 for 94 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception, 2 sacks. Stevenson 4 of 7 for 68 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks. Gibson 0 for 1 with interception. Quinn 17 carries, 154 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Average 9.1 yards per carry. Big game for him. Curry 25 carries, 94 yards. Um, Leary 7 catches for 78 yards for the Tigers, 1 touchdown. Gibson 4 for 55 and 1 touchdown. Um, George, 17 tackles for TSU to lead the defense. Booker, Henson, Akins, and Cox each had 1 tackle for loss apiece. Booker and Akins and Cox also had 1 sack apiece. Interception, Henson, Cox, and Williams each had interceptions. Pine Bluff was led by Hardwick with 7 tackles, along with Jones and Sterling. They each had 7 tackles apiece. Jenkins, 3 tackles for loss. He had a sack along with Jones Jr. Interceptions went to Oshalake and Mingo. And like I said, this is kind of par for the course for Pine Bluff right now. The offense just has really fallen off a cliff the last month. You know, I mean, that touchdown they scored, I think, was their first their offensive touchdown they scored, their first offensive touchdown since the beginning of the month of November. So they really, they really have had a tough time scoring the ball. And, for a team who was one of the top offenses coming into the last month of the season, they really took a big dip when you look at their production. As teams kind of started to kind of figure out how to play them, they kind of, they kind of fell off a little bit. And so, that's, it's not just the offense that you point fingers at. Like I said, the defense, I think, never really gave them a lot of help. And and depth as a whole just really ravaged this team. And so they really just, kind of like last season, only a little bit more promising this season. They hit a point in the season where the numbers game starts to catch up with you, and you just really can't, you really can't get anything going because the team that you were in the beginning, you're not at the end because you just don't have the guys to keep that kind of stuff up. So they just had a rough end of the season for them, and that takes us to our third game. And when you say rough, this game was definitely rough, and the end result led to a coach being not brought back. Prairie View is parting ways with Coach McDowell after 3 seasons, and so this was a rough way to go out. I know I can't really speak for whether his seat should have been hot or not. I think it just depends. I mean, you're coming off of a SWAC championship appearance. You basically had a lot of new guys on the team. You had a lot of turnover. New offensive coordinator, and things just didn't go your way this season. I thought you had a decent end to the season before last week, and then this week just nothing much there at all. So we'll see where the Panthers go from here. Like I said, to me, I was surprised when I saw the news. I know some PV people, they say they weren't surprised, but most of the time when coaches get fired, the people from that team always say they wasn't surprised that it was gonna happen. So we'll just see which direction they go, and that means the SWAC West will have another new coach. This division is just a carousel and a revolving door of coaches, and it seems like it's not going to stop anytime soon. Like I said, this game was a 9-6 game. It was 6-6 at the half, and Bama State scored. They scored with 6:43 left. They basically scored the winning points there. Brandon Gilliam kicked a 42-yard field goal for the Hornets with 10:59 left in the first quarter. That kept a 4-play, 3-yard drive. They went up 3-0. Prairie View will get on the board with 2:17 left. As Garcia Rodriguez will kick a 50-yard field goal, tie the game up at 3. PV would take the lead in the second quarter with 11:08 left, and Garcia Rodriguez kicked a 45-yard field goal. Panthers went up 6-3, and with 4 seconds left in the half, Gilliam will kick a 29-yard field goal to make the score 6-6. That was another short drive, and then with 6:43 left in the game, Gilliam would kick a 30-yard field goal to put the Hornets up 30, put the Hornets up 9-6. Um, Kind of see what happened afterwards. Let's see. Prairie View would get the ball at down 31. They would go 3-and-out and punt. Bama State would get the ball back, and then they would basically go 3-and-out, and then they would punt, and then Prairie View would get the ball at their own 40 with 2:46 left in the game, and they would drive to the Prairie View 17. I mean, to the Prairie View 40. Well, on 3rd and 17, Jaden Johnson fumbled, and Bama State recovered at the Prairie View 43, and then that would basically be the game. The Hornets would run out the clock after that. So this was just a game where nothing really, nobody could really get anything going. I mean, like, this was a kicker battle, and those were the only guys who really produced in this game. 11 first downs for the Panthers, 12 for the Hornets, 75 yards rushing for the Panthers, 38 carries, 2 yards per carry, no touchdowns. 159 yards of offense on the ground for the Hornets, 42 carries, 3.8 yards per carry, no touchdowns. 122 yards through the air for the Panthers, 13 of 23. No touchdowns, 1 interception. 71 yards passing for the Hornets, 6 of 14. No touchdowns, 1 interception. 197 yards of offense for the Panthers, 61 plays, 3.2 yards per play. They fumbled 3 times and lost 2 of them. They had 3 penalties for 20 yards. Hornets, 230 yards of offense, 56 plays, 4.1 yard per play. They fumbled twice and lost 1. And they had 8 penalties for 55 yards. 4 punts for the Panthers for 37.2 yard average, and 5 punts for the Hornets for 40-yard average. Prairie View was 6 of 16 on 3rd down, 0 for 2 on 4th down. Didn't get in the red zone, no sacks. The Hornets 3 of 13 on 3rd downs, 1 of 1 on 4th down, 2 of 4 in the red zone, and they had 4 sacks. Individually, Jaden Johnson 13 of 23, 122 yards, no touchdown, 1 interception, 4 sacks. Kareem Key 6 of 14 for 71 yards, no touchdown, 1 interception, no sacks. Lamaje McDowell 15 carries, 56 yards, no touchdowns. Daquan Kinsey 21 carries, 93 yards, no touchdowns. Key 8 for 44. James Burns had 3 catches for 44 yards for the Panthers. AJ Harrell 2 for 45 for the Hornets. Terrell Coleman led the Panthers with 9 tackles. He also led the defense with two tackles for loss. Interception with the Keon Jones. Rico Dozier led the Hornets with 9 tackles. Jackson had 1.5 tackles for loss. He also had a sack. James Burgess had a sack, and Lightfoot had a sack to lead the defense. Interception went to Offord, and like I said, this was just a ugly game, man. This was a last conference game for both teams, and Bama State still has 1 game left, but this was just kind of like one of them. I don't even know, man. Like, it just didn't really work out for anybody. But Bama State is at 6-5 right now. They finished at 5-3 in conference, so they will finish um, tied for second at worst, depending on what happens next week between Alabama A&M and FAMU. So they didn't win the division as they were picked in the preseason, but they still finished second. When you consider all the adversity they had and hardship at the QB position, 5-3 is not bad in conference. Prairie View drops to 3-5 in conference, 5-7 overall. And like I said, now they're looking for a new coach. So we'll see. We'll see how things shake up for them. That takes us to our next game, which was another entertaining game. highest scoring affair, and that's the Florida Classic. I think Bethune-Cookman. I think they had their chances in this game. Um, they just couldn't, they couldn't make enough plays to get the dub. But FAMU had a nice bounce back game. First game under Coach Burris at offensive coordinator, and they put up 41 points. So we'll see, how they close out the season next week. Bethune-Cookman again, another tough late loss. That's what three games in a row I think that they lose. In a one score game. So they really have kind of turned the corner a little bit, but they just couldn't translate that to wins. Thad Franklin will get the Rattlers on the board first with a 17-yard run. That came with 10:50 left in the first. They go up 7-0. Uh, Malik Huggins had a 77-yard punt return for the Wildcats to tie the game up at 7. And then with 135 left in the first, Gillis will kick a 35-yard field goal for the Rattlers, go up 10-7. Gassett will get a 12-yard pass from Daniel Richardson with 7:19 left in the second. Rattlers are up 10 at that point, 17-7. Then Dennis Palmer will get a 19-yard touchdown run for the Wildcats with 5:15 left in the half to go up to cut the lead to 3, 17-14. And then Huggins will get his second touchdown of the game, this time on a 56-yard pass from Ransom. Extra point good. That came with 42 seconds left in the first half. Wildcats go into the half up 21-17. They come out the half and kick a 43-yard field goal to go up 24-17. Franklin would tie the game up for FAMU with 7:49 left in the game, in the third quarter, to tie the game up at 24. And then with 5 seconds left in the third quarter, Gillis would kick a 31-yard field goal for the Rattlers to put them back on top 27-34. Franklin would get a 70-yard run for the Rattlers. With 12:04 left in the game, they go up 34-24. Dennis Palmer would get another touchdown from 1 yard out with 9:40 left in the game. And they would trail at that point 34-31. And then Dean would get an 11-yard touchdown run for the Rattlers with 2:23 left in the game. And that made it score 41-31. Palmer would get a 2-yard run for the Wildcats with 1:18 left. Extra point was good, and that would make the score 41-38. And after that, Bethune-Cookman would kick. They would kick the onside kick. Didn't get it. FAMU would actually have to punt with 22 seconds left in the game. Bethune-Cookman would get the ball at their own 13, and they would drive down to their own 45 before they ran out of time. So this was a very entertaining game. I think both teams, as usual in a game like this, both teams are going to fight hard. I thought FAMU really played a solid game. I think they gave up some big plays on defense, but the offense really was very strong on the ground this week. This was the best running effort of the season by far. Bethune-Cookman handled themselves well, and I think they have a shot next season to be a factor in the division. I don't know if I'm not saying they're gonna be, 1 or 2 or 3, but I think they're gonna be a team that's gonna be tough to beat. Because they've been in a lot of close games this season, and they are a team who were on the other end of those close games. So, they like the saying go, you lose big, you lose close, you win close, then you start to win big. So they kind of in between. Are they going to start to win those close games next season? We'll see. But this was a strong game. I mean, other than losing to your rival, there's not a lot to really hold your head on if you're Bethune-Cookman in this game. But 23 first downs for the Rattlers, 19 for the Wildcats, 305 on the ground for FAMU. Like I said, by far their best rushing effort. 47 carries again. That's probably the best of the season. 6.5 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. 183 yards on the ground for the Wildcats, 44 carries, 4.2 yards per carry. They had 3 touchdowns. 180 through the air for FAMU, 14 of 20, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 233 for the Wildcats through the air, 12 of 23, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. 485 total offense for the Rattlers, 67 plays, 7.2 yards per play. They had 1 fumble, didn't lose it. 9 penalties for 57 yards. 416 total offense for the Wildcats, 67 plays, 6.2 yards per play. They fumbled once and didn't lose it. They had 6 penalties for 64 yards. FAMU punted 4 times for a 40.5-yard average. Bethune punted 3 times for 39.3 yard average, and 6 of 12 on third down for FAMU. Didn't attempt a fourth down, 6 of 6 in the red zone, 1 sack. Bethune 8 of 15 on third down, 1 of 2 on fourth down, 4 of 5 in the red zone, and they had 2 sacks. Individually, Richardson 14 of 20, 180 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 2 sacks. Ransom 11 of 21 for 191 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 1 sack. D's 1 for 1 for 37 yards. Um, Franklin 26 carries, 195 yards, 3 touchdowns. Dean 14 for 103 and 1 touchdown. So not only did they have that best team game on the ground, they had 2 guys go over 100 yards in this game. So this was a really strong rushing attack for them this week. And this is, they needed that to show that they could run the ball. I mean, a lot of us always say they had the guys to do it. I think the philosophy just held them back more than lack of talent at the running back position, because they have some really good backs. And I thought it was a shame that they didn't really carry the ball more this season. Palmer led the Wildcats with 37 carries, 178 yards. Really strong season for him. I expect a lot out of him, as long as they can retain him. Quan Lee, 4 catches, 79 yards to lead the Rattlers. Huggins, 7 for 177 and a touchdown to lead the Wildcats. Horn and Jenkins each had 12 tackles to lead the Rattlers. Wilson had 2 tackles for loss. Westmoreland had a sack, and interception went to Jenkins. Bethune-Cookman was led by Watts with 11 tackles. Raymond Woody III had 1.5 tackles for loss. Patu had a sack to lead the defense, and interception was by Watts. So, like I said, this was a strong game for Bethune-Cookman to close out their season. Again, they finished up at 2-6 in conference, 2-10 overall. They did close out on a 3-game losing streak. All 3 losses were by a combined 8 points. So they could have and should have won all 3 of those games. So they got a lot of missed opportunities. FAMU, typically their season would wrap up this week, but they have a rescheduled game from earlier in the season against Alabama A&M. So they're 4-3 right now, and they're 6-5. The winner of that game is going to finish tied with Bama State, basically for second place. And the winner of that game will also finish 7-5. Loser will drop to 6-6 and 4-4. So there's still some intrigue in that game. I mean, not enough to really make it a huge game, but there's still a lot left. And we'll go from there. So gonna try to pull up a box score for this final game. Didn't see one on the SWAC site. So the last game we had is the Soul Bowl, and JSU put in work on Alcorn, 48-10. This was a game that they really really had their way. I think they jumped on Alcorn early. They jumped up 14-0 before Alcorn got a big touchdown to cut into the lead, and then from now JSU ran off 20 straight points before Alcorn was able to score again. So this was all JSU all the time in this game. Like I said, the first touchdown came with 5:16 left in the first when Isaiah Spencer caught a 57-yard pass from Jacoby and Morgan. Extra point good, 7-0. Irv Mulligan will get a 5-yard touchdown run with 2:02 left in the first. They went up 14-0, 145 left in the first quarter. Jacorian Sewell had an 82-yard run for the Braves, made the score 14-7 after the extra point. 11:40. Basically, the immediate drive after Irv Mulligan will get a 7-yard touchdown run for Jackson State to go up 21-7. Baszler will kick a field goal with 3:16 left in the second quarter, put the Tigers up 24-7. He then would follow that up with a 26-yard field goal at the half to go up 27-7. Jonas Fortillion will catch a 44-yard pass from Morgan with 10:03 left in the third, and they will go up 34-7. Kiani will get the Braves back on the board with 6:45 left in the third quarter with a 40-yard field goal. And then Morgan will get a 9-yard touchdown run with 5:06 left in the third. Extra point was good, 41-10. And then Zion McDonald will get a 1-yard run with 14:11 left in the game, 48-10. And that would basically be the game. I mean, like I said, this was just a clinic. JSU came in short, guys, from that altercation with Bama State, but they were clicking over 200 yards on the ground, over 200 yards through the air, 48 points. I mean, right now this team is a machine. I don't know if anybody gonna be able to slow them down. So this could have been a game where they got caught. No, I don't want to look at past Alcorn because it's a rivalry game, but they could have got came in complacent because they had already won the division and they had guys out and this and that. But they came out and they really. I mean, they scored the first two touchdowns of the game, so they took control of the game from the jump. It wasn't like a back and forth thing. They even after Alcorn hit that big touchdown, they immediately drove down the field and scored. That's unflappable. So this honestly, this is why this team is right now the best team in the conference, and they are gonna be favored in the SWAC championship game, and it's gonna be interesting to see, if and when they make it to the Celebration Bowl, how they match up with South Carolina State. But you don't want to put the cart too far before the horse. But this was a big game for JSU. Like I said, dominant 27 first downs, Alcorn only 11, 283 on the ground for the Tigers, 46 carries, 6.2 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Alcorn 160 yards. Now remember they had an 82-yard run, so almost more than almost half of their yardage came on one carry. 160 yards, 27 carries, 5.9 yards per carry, 1 touchdown. 211 through the air for JSU, 12 or 22, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. 112 for Alcorn through the air, 15 or 27, no touchdowns, 1 interception. 494 yards for the Tigers, 64 plays, 7.3 yards per play. One fumble, didn't lose it. They had 3 penalties for 20 yards. 272 yards for Alcorn, 54 plays, 5 yards per play, one fumble, and they lost it. They had 12 penalties for 139 yards. That don't help you at all. JSU punted the ball 4 times for 46.2 yard average. Alcorn 7 punts for 39.7 yard average. JSU 5 of 12 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down, 6 of 6 in the red zone, 1 sack. Uh, Alcorn 4 of 14 on third down, 1 for 1 on fourth down, no trips to the red zone, and they had 1 sack. JSU was led by Jacoby and Morgan with 12 completions, 20 attempts, 211 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 1 sack. Xavier Vaughn, 11 for 20 for Alcorn, 94 yards, no touchdown, 1 interception, 1 sack. Mulligan, 14 carries, 105 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He goes over 1,000 yards on the season. Jacorian Sewell, 14 carries, 122 yards. Let's go 14 carries, 119 yards, 1 touchdown. Um, Fortillion, 4 catches, 91 yards and a touchdown. Spencer, 3 for 72 and a touchdown. Adams led Alcorn with 2 catches, 43 yards. Defensively, Ward had 8 tackles to lead Jackson State. Tackles for loss. Wiggins, Webb, Cooks, Brown, Smith, and McDaniel each had 1 tackle for loss apiece. McDaniel had a sack. Interception was by Petty. Alcorn was led defensively by Stamarion Edwards with 9 tackles. He also had 1.5 tackle for loss to lead the defense. He had half a sack along with Eric Thomas. Interceptions, none. So, like I said, this was a thorough and complete beating by Jackson State as they close out their regular season uh, with an 8-0 conference record and 10-2 overall. So let's take a look at the standings. As this was, like I said, the last complete week, there are still 2 conference games left on the schedule and 1 non-conference game, but those games won't have really much effect on the standings. Jackson State wins the East. They're 8-0, 10-2 overall. They won 8 games in a row. Bama State 5-3, 6-5 overall. They won one. Alabama A&M 4-3, 6-5 overall. They won 3 in a row. Florida A&M 4-3. They're 6-5 overall, and they won one. Bethune 2-6, 2-6, 2-10 overall. They lost 3 in a row. Valley 1-7, 1-11 overall. They've lost 1 in a row. Southern wins the West right now. They're 6-1 with 1 game left. They're 7-4 overall. They won 3 games in a row. Alcorn 5-3, 6-6 overall. They've lost one. Texas Southern 4-4 overall, 4-4 in conference, 5-6 overall. They closed out on a 2-game winning streak. Nice, strong finish for them. Prairie View 3-5, 5-7 overall. They lost two in a row. Right now, Grambling is 2-5, 5-6 overall. They lost one, and Pine Bluff wraps up their season at 2-6, 3-9 overall, and they've lost 4 games in a row. So that's basically going to do it. Just a quick run through of what the schedule is next this upcoming week. Like I said, we have 3 games left. Um, First game is Thursday, which is Thanksgiving, and that's the Turkey Day Classic, and that's Alabama State taking on um, Tuskegee. That's a 1 o'clock kick. Alabama A&M and Florida A&M play on Black Friday, November 29th, 3 o'clock kickoff, and then Southern and Grambling playing the Bayou Classic on November 30th, 1 o'clock kick. So we have SWAC football on 3 straight days. I mean, even though this is basically the end of the season, that's a nice strong closeout. So um, we have three days, three games, and so you can lock in and watch a little bit of football to close out the season. And that's gonna do it for today's show, man. Like I said, we'll have our Week 14 preview coming at you on Wednesday. We'll probably have Sweat Smoke coming at you on Tuesday because we know we're gonna take off for Thanksgiving. So we'll probably do Sweat Smoke on Tuesday and recap on Wednesday. Or we'll do the recap on Tuesday, Sweat Smoke on Wednesday. I haven't really decided it, but y'all just keep it locked to the social to figure out which is which. And that's gonna do it for us, man. Like I said, I'll catch y'all on Tuesday or Wednesday, man. We up out of here. Y'all enjoy yourself. And we'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.